You survived the stroke. Everyone tells you to be grateful, but no one gave you a map for what comes next. 1 month in, just taking a shower feels like a marathon. 6 months in, people say you look great, but your brain still feels slow, your energy crashes, and you're scared to admit how hard it really is. And in the middle of all that, one question keeps looping in your head: am I behind? In this video, I want to walk you through what stroke recovery after 40 really looks like, month by month, so you can stop comparing yourself to miracle stories and start understanding your own timeline. In this video, I'm going to walk you through what stroke recovery after 40 really tends to look like, month by month, and I'm also going to tackle that 6-month window myth that makes so many people feel like they're already failing when they're not. If you're over 40 and you've had a stroke, you didn't just get sick. Your life got split into before and after. Before, you were working, paying bills, driving, taking care of everyone else. After, you're suddenly wondering, will I drive again? Will I go back to my job or any job? Am I now a burden to my family? What if I have another stroke when no one is around? Here's one thing almost no one tells you clearly: you are not behind in your recovery. You're stuck in a system that does a terrible job explaining what comes next. In the hospital, the mission is simple: keep you alive, prevent another stroke, stabilize the crisis. That part is urgent and it matters. But the long road, the part where you go home, try to shower, try to remember appointments, try to pretend you're okay so your family doesn't worry, that part is often barely explained. You get a stack of papers, a list of medications, a couple of follow-up appointments, maybe some rehab, and a giant question mark. Nobody sits on the edge of your bed and says, "Listen, the next year is going to be weird and scary. Here's how the first month usually feels. Here's what months 3 to 6 often look like. Here's when it's normal to still need help." Meanwhile, on social media, you see two extremes: the miracle stories where someone is back to normal in 2 weeks, or the darkest stories that make you feel you'll never improve at all. Most people live somewhere in the messy middle, but that middle is rarely shown. So what do? You start comparing yourself. Wait, that person was walking in a month. Why am I still so tired? He went back to work at 3 months. Why can't I even focus long enough to read a page? Here's the truth I want you to hold on to as we go through this. Stroke recovery is not a straight line. It's not a neat staircase where every week looks better than the week before. It's a messy up and down graph. You'll have days when you surprise yourself and days when you feel like you've gone backwards. Underneath that messy graph, your brain is doing something powerful called neuroplasticity, building new pathways, rewiring, learning workarounds. After 40, that process can be slower than it is at 18, sure, but it's still very much there. And for many people, it's happening quietly while they're busy beating themselves up. So let's zoom in on this confused feeling you might be living with right now. Because here's the first thing I want you to really hear. You are not late, you are underinformed. You didn't just have a stroke, you had your identity ripped in half. There was the you who could juggle work, kids, bills, maybe even aging parents. And now, there's this new you who gets exhausted unloading the dishwasher, who loses words mid-sentences, who secretly wonders, is this my life now? Most people around you only see the medical part. You went to the hospital, they treated you, you're home, so you must be okay, right? But the system you went through was never built to really explain the after. The hospital has one job: stabilize you, prevent another stroke, get you medically safe enough to go home or to rehab. That's it. No one has time in that moment to walk you through the emotional roller coaster, the fatigue, the grief, and the slow, uneven progress that fill the next months. Then insurance and the health system add another layer of confusion. Maybe your therapy sessions are limited. Maybe you're told you're plateauing after a few weeks, so they cut back visits. Maybe you feel pressure to perform in rehab to prove you still deserve services. That doesn't mean your recovery is over. It often just means the system is done paying for the most obvious gains. Meanwhile, your phone keeps showing you the extremes. You almost never see the quiet, average, messy middle. The person who needs a nap after going to the grocery store at 6 months, or the woman who can walk fine but still can't multitask long enough to get through a normal workday. So you start telling yourself a story. I'm not like the miracle people. I must be failing. But here's the thing. Recovery is not a race, and it is definitely not a comparison sport. If you graphed stroke recovery, it wouldn't be a straight line going up. It would look like a messy stock market chart. Spikes, dips, days where nothing seems to move, then a surprise jump. The biggest problem for many stroke survivors over 40 is not just what happened in their brain. It's the gap between medical reality and expectations. No one told you what a good day at 2 months looks like. No one told you that crying easily at 3 months can be part of the process. No one told you that fatigue might hang around long after you're walking better. So in this video, I don't want to give you some rigid rule like by week 6 you must be doing X. That's not how real bodies and real lives work. Instead, I want to give you a map, a realistic, compassionate, month-by-month overview of what recovery after 40 often looks like. 0 to 1 month, survival mode and shock. 1 to 3 months, first visible wins and a lot of frustration. 3 to 6 months, you look fine to others but feel far from okay. 6 to 12 months, building a new routine and a new identity. After 1 year, shifting from going back to living well as you are now. Not as a promise, not as a prison, but as a framework so you can stop obsessively comparing yourself to other people's timelines and start understanding your own. Let me ask you something, and answer this honestly in your mind. Where are you right now on that timeline? First month, 3 to 6 months, or already past a year? If you're tired of piecing together your recovery from random posts and miracle stories, and you want clear, honest explanations like this, consider subscribing so you don't have to navigate this alone. Around here, we talk about stroke recovery the way it actually feels, physically, mentally, and emotionally, especially for those of us over 40 who still have responsibilities, families, and lives to live. In this video, we're going to start by breaking down why your recovery feels so confusing, especially in that first month, and then we'll walk through each phase of the first year, plus what really happens after that. Understanding that first phase can completely change how you see the rest of your journey. All right, let's start walking through this map together, not as a strict checklist, but as a way to finally make sense of what you've been living. 0 to 1 month, the shock and survival phase. The first month after a stroke is not about being productive. It's about staying alive, stabilizing, and learning what your new brain and body can do today. Physically, this phase can feel brutal. Your body may not move the way you expect. One side feels weaker, your face might look a little different, your hand doesn't grip when you tell it to. Walking can feel like crossing a tightrope. Even swallowing might be hard. Fatigue isn't just tired, it's bone-deep exhaustion. Taking a shower feels like running a marathon with a backpack full of bricks. Getting dressed can require breaks. A short walk in the hallway can knock you out for the rest of the day. Mentally, everything can feel foggy. Words slip away. You lose your train of thought in the middle of a sentence. You're slower to process what people say. You might feel like you're floating just outside your own life, watching it instead of living it. Emotionally, there's fear, grief, anger, and sometimes guilt. What if this happens again? What did I do wrong? Will my family be better off without all this trouble? Here's what I want you to know. This chaos is normal for this stage. This first month is not the final exam of your recovery. It's triage. Your brain is healing from an injury. Your medical team is busy preventing complications, adjusting meds, figuring out exactly what was damaged. Think of this month as the emergency construction phase after an earthquake. You're not decorating the living room, you're checking the foundation. And here's the part that surprises many people. The big, noticeable changes that families expect in week 1 often show up closer to weeks 4 to 12. So if you're in that first month thinking, nothing is happening, I'm stuck like this, please understand, your story is not finished. Between 1 and 3 months, many people start to notice more visible progress. This is often called the honeymoon of recovery, not because it's easy, but because improvements can be more obvious. You might be doing more intense rehab, physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy. You're practicing standing up, shifting weight, taking steps, using your affected hand, working on swallowing or speech. Little victories suddenly mean everything. Getting out of bed with less help, managing a few steps on the stairs, holding a fork with more control, saying a full sentence without stumbling as much. Cognitively, your focus, memory, and language might slowly improve, but that foggy, slow brain feeling can still hang around. You may follow a conversation better, but get wiped out after 10 minutes. You may read a page, but forget most of it by the time you reach the bottom. Emotionally, this phase is a strange mix of pride and frustration. You're genuinely proud of each little win, but then you think, why is this still so hard? Why am I not further along? This is also the moment when comparison kicks in hard. You hear about someone who walked perfectly at 2 months. You see someone online who went back to work at 3 months. Suddenly, your victories don't feel like enough. Here's where a key principle kicks in. Recovery rewards consistency, not perfection. 10 small, regular rehab sessions usually beat one heroic, over-the-top workout that wipes you out for days. Let me ask you the second question of this video. Are you judging your recovery based on what you can't do yet, or based on the tiny things you can do now that were impossible a few weeks ago? That shift in perspective can completely change how you feel in this phase. From the outside, 3 to 6 months can look like success. Maybe you're walking without a cane or using it only sometimes. You can get dressed, make simple meals, hold a conversation. To friends and coworkers, you might look almost normal. Inside, it's a different story. Fatigue still hits hard, especially later in the day. Your balance may still be off. Your hand might not obey 100% of the time. Cognitively, multitasking can feel impossible. You might manage a conversation, or cooking, or watching the kids. But doing 2 of those at the same time, that can overload your brain fast. Real-life pressure ramps up here. People start asking, when are you coming back to work? Are you driving again yet? Do you think you're back to normal? This is the danger zone for overdoing it, trying to jump back into your old pace, then crashing physically or emotionally. You push hard one day, then need 2 days to recover. A lot of people have been told, after 6 months, whatever you got back is what you'll have forever. That sentence sits in the back of your mind like a ticking clock. You start thinking, if I'm not fully back by 6 months, I'm done. Later in this video, we're going to tackle why that idea is outdated and what really happens after the 1-year mark. For now, understand this: a lot of meaningful recovery still happens after 6 months. Between 6 months and a year, many people have regained a lot of mobility. You might walk fairly well, you might use your hand more, you may have figured out tricks for daily tasks. But the leftover issues, the fine motor control, the subtle balance problems, the mental fatigue, the slower processing can feel more frustrating now, not less. It feels like, I've come this far, why is this still here? Life shifts from crisis mode into long-term adjustment. Maybe you changed roles at work. Maybe you structure your day around rest breaks. Maybe your family had to take on new responsibilities. Emotionally, this is where many people start grieving the old version of themselves. The person who could work a long day, run errands, and still show up for everyone else. You might catch yourself thinking, will I ever be that person again? And slowly, a new thought can begin to form. Maybe I'm not going back to the old normal, maybe I'm building a different normal. Recovery after a stroke is not about erasing what happened. It's about learning how to live well with the brain you have now, respecting its limits, using its strengths, and still building a meaningful life. In a moment, we're going to tackle the big question head-on. What really happens after the 1-year mark? And is it true that after 6 months, what improved? The answer can change how you look at every day from here forward. First, we have to answer the question that hangs over almost every stroke survivor after 40. After a year, what does recovery really look like? First, we have to attack one of the most damaging ideas out there. After 6 months, that's it. Whatever you got back is what you'll have forever. This so-called 6-month rule comes from older ways of thinking about stroke. We now know it's a myth. Yes, the first 3 to 6 months are usually when the fastest improvements happen. Your brain is in a kind of hyperplastic mode, especially with good rehab. But research and real-world experience show that meaningful progress can still happen a year, 2 years, even more after a stroke, especially when you keep working with focused, consistent therapy and healthy habits. So, what changes after a year? The pace, not the potential. Improvements tend to be slower and more subtle, more dependent on your daily routines, more about refining skills and building workarounds than big, dramatic leaps. After 1 year, what actually happens? Physically, many of the big gains have stabilized. You may walk more confidently, but still get tired or off balance, use your weaker hand more, but still struggle with fine tasks, need to keep working on strength, flexibility, and coordination so you don't lose what you gained. Therapy often shifts from, can I move, to how can I move safely and efficiently in real life? That might mean practicing stairs, getting in and out of a car, safely carrying groceries, or figuring out how far you can walk before you need a break. Cognitively, it's less about huge light bulb moments and more about strategies. Using lists, alarms, and planners to support memory, breaking complex tasks into steps, scheduling quiet time so your brain can reset, and choosing one demanding thing per day instead of 5. You're building a toolbox for the brain you have now, not waiting for your old brain to magically come back. Emotionally, this is where identity gets rebuilt. You may catch yourself saying, I am not just a stroke patient, I am a person who had a stroke. That sounds small, but it's huge. One keeps you stuck in the hospital in your mind forever. The other allows you to see yourself as a whole person again. With limits, yes, but also with choices, relationships, and a future. So let's go back to the promise of this video and put it all together. So, what does recovery really look like month by month after 40? 0 to 1 month? Survival, shock, and chaos. You're stabilizing, not failing. 1 to 3 months? First clear wins and a ton of frustration. Your job is consistency, not perfection. 3 to 6 months? You look better on the outside than you feel on the inside. This is the danger zone for doing too much too soon. 6 to 12 months? You're building a new routine and a new identity. Recovery becomes less about crisis and more about adjustments. After 1 year, it's less about going back to who you were and more about living well as who you are now. Refining skills, protecting your energy, and staying open to slow, steady gains over time. Let me ask you the third question, and this is the one I really want you to sit with. If you stopped racing the clock and comparing yourself to everyone else's story, what daily choices would you start making differently to support the brain you have today? Because at the end of the day, your recovery is not a race against other people's timelines. It's a long conversation between you, your brain, and what you do or don't do day after day. If you're not where you hope to be yet, it doesn't mean you failed. It means your path is your path. You're allowed to be grateful to be alive and still be sad or angry that life is harder now. Both can be true. And you're allowed to ask for help from your family, from a therapist, from a support group, from your medical team. Nobody gets through this alone. I want to be crystal clear. I am not a doctor. This video is for education and support only. It is not personal medical advice. Always talk to your physician, neurologist, or rehab team before changing medications, exercise, or therapy plans. Your specific stroke, your health history, and your risks are unique, and only your own medical team can guide those decisions safely. If you want to understand the warning signs that many people ignore before their stroke, the little red flags that often get brushed off, watch my next video, Stroke Warning Signs After 40. It can help you and the people you love avoid going through this twice. Tell me in the comments, where are you in your recovery? First month, a few months in, or already beyond a year? Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear on a really hard day. And if you want more honest, science-based videos about stroke, recovery, and life after 40, subscribe so you don't have to navigate this alone. We're building a space where stroke survivors and their families can talk about what recovery really feels like, month by month, year by year.